My name is David Hale, and for the past 4 years, I've worked as a systems analyst at Farnsby Lowell, one of those high-rise corporate towers in downtown Chicago that looks like a giant glass coffin when the fog rolls in. The kind of place where the hallways are always too quiet, the floors too polished, and the elevators just a little too perfect. Every morning, I walk into the marble lobby, scan my ID badge, nod at the security guard who never remembers my name, and press the up button on the elevator. Our building has 52 floors. But, like most modern towers, there's one number that's quietly missing from the control panel. 13. It's tradition. Superstition, whatever you want to call it. There's no button, no floor directory, no mention of it at all. I never thought much about it. Just a design quirk, probably mandated by some old architectural standard or driven by corporate paranoia, until one night last month when the elevator stopped responding to any button I pressed, except one, a button that was never there before. Shasan. It was a Friday evening. I was working late not because I love my job, but because the quarterly reports were due, and our servers had crashed earlier that day. Most of the office had cleared out by 6 p.m. By 10:30, I was the only soul left on the 38th floor. When I finally shut down my terminal and packed up, the entire building felt unnaturally still. No footsteps, no printers humming, not even the janitor's cart creaking down the hall. I hit the elevator button, and after a moment, the familiar ding echoed off the marble. I stepped inside, yawning. I pressed L for lobby. The doors closed, and then nothing. No motion, no descent, just that soft buzzing hum. I frowned, hit L again. Still, nothing. That's when the floor indicator above the door flickered. Once, twice. Then glowed a dim, rust-colored number. Shazam. I froze. I looked at the button panel. Still, no 13 there. But the display didn't lie. And then, with a quiet chime softer and lower than usual, the doors opened. What lay beyond wasn't the lobby. It was a hallway I had never seen before. The lighting was yellowish, like aged paper, and flickering weakly from dusty glass fixtures on the ceiling. The walls were a faded green, lined with old wooden trim and wallpaper that had bubbled and cracked with age. There were cubicles, real ones, not the modern glass ones we use now, complete with typewriters, rotary phones, and desk fans that looked like they hadn't worked since the 1970s. Everything smelled like damp wood and long-forgotten paper. The air felt wrong, still, but thick, colder than the elevator behind me. I didn't step out. Not yet. I just leaned forward and listened. Silence, but not empty silence. The kind that presses on your eardrums and makes your own heartbeat sound too loud, like the building was holding its breath. Then I saw the first photo, a black and white portrait framed in brass hanging near the first cubicle. It showed a man, early 40s, well-groomed, wearing a narrow tie and an expression just short of a smile. Under the photo, a small plaque read, Walter D. Harrow, Data Entry Specialist, 1972, 1977. I stepped closer. Another frame, a woman. Same format. Helen Rice, filing clerk, 1973, 1980, and then another. And another. A whole wall of forgotten employees, all from decades ago, all smiling in exactly the same way, tight-lipped, slightly tilted heads, eyes that looked just a little off-center. I took a step back. That's when I noticed all their eyes were looking the same direction, not at the camera, not at me, but slightly to the left, down the hallway. Something about that moment made my skin prickle. My hand shot to the elevator door, but it was already closed. The panel inside was dark, dead. I was trapped on a floor that didn't exist. I stood in front of the sealed elevator doors for what felt like hours, heart pounding, brain racing for logic. Was this a prank? A dream? Some outdated floor no one used anymore? But everything felt too real. The faint buzz of the overhead lights, the musty smell of paper and dust, the way the floor creaked slightly under my steps as I walked. Yeah, I walked. Maybe I shouldn't have, but standing still wasn't an option. My instincts told me to leave, but something stronger pushed me forward. I passed cubicles arranged in neat little rows like a forgotten hive. Each one looked lived in, like the workers had just stepped away for a minute. Papers were stacked neatly. Drawers were half open. Coffee cups sat cold and crusted on desks. It didn't feel like a museum. It felt like someone still worked here. As I turned a corner, I noticed something strange. Every desk had the same old wall clock on it. All of them were stuck at 11:47. Some clocks were digital, some analog, but every single one had stopped on that exact minute. And just as I stared, the lights above flickered again, only this time they didn't stop. They began pulsing, one after another, down the hallway, like a heartbeat, like something was moving toward me. That's when I saw the door. Unlike the others, this one was newer. The wood wasn't chipped. The handle wasn't rusted. It looked maintained. And on the front, neatly screwed into the center, was a shiny brass nameplate. It read, David Hale, Systems Analyst. I froze. There was no way. This couldn't be a coincidence. It was my name, my job title. And behind that door, my instinct screamed was something that knew me. I reached for the handle. It was cold, but smooth, and it turned without resistance. The door creaked open slowly. The room inside was dim, lit only by a green-shaded desk lamp and the flickering light outside the fogged-up window. I stepped in, and my breath caught. It was my office. Not exactly, but close. Too close. Same desk layout, same two monitors, same bookshelf on the left, and even the crack in the wall paint I'd stared at 100 times before, but everything looked older, like a version of my office frozen in the past. The screens were boxy CRTs. The bookshelf held dusty ledgers instead of reports. And the coffee mug on the desk, it was the one I dropped and broke 3 months ago. Whole again, sitting perfectly on a coaster. Then I noticed the chair. Someone was sitting in it, back turned toward the window. They hadn't moved since I entered. Their hands rested on the armrest, fingers curled. The shape of the shoulders, the curve of the neck, it looked like me. I spoke. Hello? No response. I took a step closer. Is this a joke? Who are you? The figure turned the chair slowly without using their hand. It rotated silently, and I saw my face, but something was wrong. The features were too perfect, like a wax replica. The eyes were mine, but they didn't blink. The mouth slowly curled into a grin that didn't reach the eyes. It didn't speak. But I heard the words in my head clear and calm. You don't belong up there anymore. I stumbled backward, knocking over a chair. The lights in the room began flickering violently. Outside the window where my real office should have overlooked the city skyline, there was only static. Gray, buzzing, shifting static. I turned and ran. Out the door, down the hallway, past the photos whose eyes now seemed to follow me. The pulsing lights chased me, blinking toward the elevator. When I reached it, I slammed the button repeatedly. The door opened, but it was already occupied. The elevator doors opened, and my legs froze. Inside stood a mirror, full length, tall, gleaming, placed right at the back wall where the usual metal finish should have been. It reflected everything: the flickering hallway behind me, the pulsing lights, the terror in my eyes. But not just that, it also reflected someone standing behind me. I spun around, empty hallway. I turned back. The reflection still showed it, a tall, human-like figure, shadowy and indistinct, standing exactly where I had been moments ago. Like it was delayed, or worse, watching me from another layer. I didn't wait. I jumped into the elevator and hit every button. It didn't move. The doors stayed open. And then, slowly, the lights began going out down the hallway, one by one, coming toward me. Finally, the doors closed. No kime, no movement, just darkness. I was trapped in a silent box, the number display above me blank. For 30 full seconds, I stood in pitch black stillness, breathing too loud, heart hammering against my ribs. Then the display blinked, returning to assigned floor, but instead of the familiar glow of L or 38, the number showed Ling. I didn't even know that was possible. The elevator hummed. It moved, but not like a usual descent or ascent. It felt like sinking. The floor vibrated lightly under my feet, and the wall shimmered faintly like heat rising from pavement. I touched the metal. It felt soft, like it was changing. And then the lights flickered back on. The mirror was gone. Instead, the back wall was now a window, and what lay beyond it made my breath catch. It wasn't the city. It was an endless, shifting gray space, a foggy horizon stretching forever, broken by distant black towers twisted structures and dark silhouettes that didn't move but watched. I was looking into somewhere else, and I wasn't alone. Suddenly, the elevator jerked. The doors opened again, not to the lobby, not to the office, but to the same hallway from before the 13th floor. Only now, the cubicles were gone, replaced by rows of mirrors, each mirror showing me in different states. In one, I was still sitting at my desk, typing like nothing had changed. In another, I stood in the elevator looking panicked. And in the last mirror, I wasn't me. It was someone else wearing my face but smiling wider, eyes too dark. A voice calm and close echoed through the elevator. You left the door open. You let me in. And now, I've clocked in for you. The lights cut out. When they came back on, I was in the lobby. Daylight poured through the tall glass windows. The reception desk was active. People moved around normally. Had it all been a dream? I looked around. Everything was in place until I caught my reflection in the elevator's polished surface and realized something small but chilling. The scar on my left eyebrow was on the right. That was 3 days ago. Since then, everything feels off. My keyboard at work has a key I don't remember using. My coffee tastes slightly metallic, and the people around me, they don't greet me the same. It's like they're watching or waiting. Last night, another envelope appeared at my door. No name, no return address. Inside was a key card and a sticky note, "Welcome back. Floor 13 of 8."